All right, thank you everyone for your patience. My name is Bill Two, and thank you all for being here for the Connect One BRT virtual community meeting. Before we begin, I did go ahead and share the PowerPoint slide. Could I just get a thumbs up or just say yes, you can see the screen before we begin? Okay, perfect, perfect. All right. So, like I said, thank you all for being here. If at any point you're having issues hearing me, just feel free to utilize the chat box and let me know what's going on because I will just be able to see the PowerPoint screen. But my name is Bill Tuhumda. I'm the Community Outreach and Internal Communications Coordinator with Milwaukee County Transit System, and I have been in this particular position for about 7 months or so. I'm really excited about the launch of Wisco and BRT, and I hope that we get the opportunity to answer any questions before my colleagues get a chance to introduce themselves. I do kind of just want to go over some house rules. So we'll go over the presentation first, and then at the end, we'll give an opportunity for folks to ask any questions that they would like. I know we have a couple folks here, so we want to be respectful of everyone in their questions and maybe give about 1 or 2 minutes per person, depending on how many people have raised their hands. So we will wait, like I said, towards the end for any questions. So you can ask questions in the chat, but we will wait till the end of the actual presentation to answer them all. And with that being said, I want to give an opportunity for my colleagues to be able to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about how long they've been here with MCTS as well.
Thanks, Bill, too. My name is Tom Winter. I'm the director for the Service Development Department at MCTS. I've been in that role for about 12 years and actually with the company overall for about 33 years. And happy to be here and happy to talk about our new Connect One bus rapid transit line and our other route changes. So I will pass it on to Jesus.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks everyone for taking time out of your day. My name is Jesus Ochoa. I am the planning manager in the service development department. I've been with MCTS for about 5.5 years, and I've been started off as a transit planner. I've been in this manager role now for just over 1.5 years. And yeah, pretty excited to go through our BRT and underlying changes. So thank you for your time. I'll pass it on here to Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom Bertrand. I'm a transit planner. I've been with Milwaukee County Transit for about 15 months now. It's been a wonderful experience, and I always love coming out and talking to the public at events like this, so I'm happy to be here.
So I'll go ahead to the next slide. Just want to make sure everyone can see it. If anybody has any issues seeing it, just please comment on the chat box. Just to go over today's agenda, the whole point of the presentation, we will go ahead and introduce the Connect One bus rapid transit line, go into details about the recommended route adjustments and improvements. The BRT just represents a $55 million investment that creates a premium level of transit services well beyond what exists today. And so I will move on to the next slide. But like I said before, after the presentation, the end, we'll give people the opportunity to ask questions and be able to answer all of them at the end.
All right, thanks, Bill, too. Just to start off at a high level, what is bus rapid transit? I'm sure many of you have heard about it, maybe seen it on TV or maybe have had access to it via our website. But bus rapid transit is not your regular bus service. This is something that's fast, it's frequent. There are some engineering improvements that we put into bus rapid transit service that make it more reliable. It's intended to be something that has separate bus lanes, which maybe some of you have seen in the community now on Wisconsin Avenue. It has bus stations versus bus stops. So in case of like, rather than a pole in the ground with the metal sign, this actually has a platform that is raised. It's also built to be ADA accessible, so people can use a mobility device to board there. It's also something that will have a ticket vending machine where you can prepay your fare rather than in a normal bus, you're paying your fare into a fare box on the machine. In this case, you take care of your fare before you even um, before the bus shows up, and then you simply just walk on, whether it's the front door or even the back door. Um, so we have these sort of, as I say, engineering improvements built into the system to guarantee more than you would say in a regular bus, that on-time performance. And I think we can go on to the next slide. So just some kind of service characteristics. It is going to be very frequent, more frequent than any other bus route that we have today. So it's every 10 minutes. Again, some of those premium amenities that I mentioned, there will be bus stations. I didn't mention there will be real-time signage at each station, so you'll know when the bus is going to arrive next. There will be the ticket vending machines, and again, those bus-only lanes. So buses will be able to pass traffic when there is some congestion. It's going to be faster than the Gold Line is today between downtown and the Regional Medical Center, about 30 minutes on the BRT. It's more like 36 to 38 minutes, depending on the time of day for the Gold Line. And we are looking to start June 4th, so right around the corner. And again, it's going to be Wisconsin's first bus rapid transit line. Next slide. So this is just showing a map of the routing. It is originally was called the East-West Bus Rapid Transit Line, as you can tell, kind of an east-west line, starting in this case at Jackson in Wisconsin, along Wisconsin Avenue, all the way to Holly Road, where then it will move down to Blue Mountain Road to 95th Street. And then it'll make its way via 95th and Wisconsin to 92nd Street to serve the Regional Medical Center. And then after that, west on Watertown Plank Road to the park and ride lot over just west of the freeway. And then in those sort of yellowish line of the map, that is where the bus only lane will be located. So between Holly Road and about 10th Street, I should say 9th Street. And then another segment will be on Wisconsin Avenue east of the river until Jackson, Wisconsin. Eventually, once the Couture project is built, which is right along the lakefront at Michigan and Lincoln Memorial Drive, the route will be extended, so to speak, to the station to the Couture. But as of, of course, we can't do that now because the Couture is still being built. So, next station. So this is just a quick picture. It's probably a little bit older by now, but it shows on the kind of lower left corner and the upper right corner where the stations are being built. This is at 27th Street. You can kind of see some of the early improvements that are being made with sort of the yellow line where where you'll wait for the bus to show up, both on, in this case, east of Wisconsin Avenue and east of 27th Street rather, and west of 27th Street, going towards the MRMC. And then just in terms of the schedule, so again, very frequent service, 10 minutes on weekdays, every 15 minutes on Saturdays and Sundays during the daytime. Evening service will always be 20 minutes during that early evening, and then 30 minutes kind of in the later evening after 10 o'clock or so. Pretty much the same span of service as the Gold Line is today, so about 4:30 in the morning until 1:30 in the morning. And then those stations, they'll basically be spaced pretty far, a little bit further apart than certainly regular bus stops. And that again is to build that speed into the system. The widest spacing will be about a half mile. In some of those cases, we'll have Route 30 providing service underneath, so there'll be narrower spacing there. But again, we engineer that sort of wider spacing, which is common in BRT lines, to again give you that really fast, frequent service. And these are just some pictures of some of the buses that will be on the line, the battery electric buses. You might have seen them on the street thus far, just in test mode. We are having some, as they say, supply chain issues with getting all of our buses, battery electric buses, in the fleet. So at the beginning, kind of for a time yet to be determined, we'll have to substitute regular diesel buses to kind of fulfill that 10-minute frequency of service. They won't look exactly like those buses on the bottom of the PowerPoint, but something comparable. And then we're designing them to be not sort of unique specifically just for the Connect One. We want to be able to use those buses elsewhere in the system too. But they will be sort of having a designation that indicates that they are for the Connect One BRT. And now I will pass it over to Jesus to kind of talk about some of the additional route changes that are happening also on June 4th.
Thanks, Tom. So as Bill too kind of mentioned, this is a giant investment, 55 million that our county has never seen, right? Bus rapid transit. These are federally allotted dollars that could have went to any other transit system, but they came here to Milwaukee. So we're really excited about that. The project began back in 2016, and we're finally implementing it and starting service in the summer. So kind of gives you a little gist of how long it takes for one of these projects to really get off the ground, from a study to actual implementation. But with the introduction of the Connect One bus rapid transit, we made sure to take a look at summer schedules and other routes that are adjacent to the Connect One to ensure that it complements well with this new premium level of service. We want things to be easier to understand, and also looking to expand job access, which we'll touch on in a few slides down the line here. A lot of these changes were actually a result of feedback from our riders, from bus drivers, and businesses alike. Working with our partners at Waukesha Metro, we're able to expand access to jobs with more frequent service, which we'll touch on in a little bit here. So just a little summary of some of our route changes. With the start of the Connect One bus rapid transit, we will be replacing, or we'll replace portions of the Gold Line today, and the name of the Gold Line will actually be retired. We were really intentional because we know that we have a lot of service on the east side. We have a lot of riders on the east side. We wanted to make sure that some of our underlying routes would maintain service, or in many cases, increase service to ensure that connections are made in a timely manner. Those include our Route 30. So we know that our Route 30 is one of our high ridership routes, and we also know that with the retirement of the Gold Line, a lot of Gold Line riders would navigate to the Route 30. So we made it more frequent, adding more service to our Route 30 to ensure that it meets that new demand. Route 30 won't change in terms of the routing. However, we want to make sure that there's enough buses out there to meet that demand. For Route 21, we currently have service on Downer Avenue. However, that is only when UWM's in session. With the retirement of the Gold Line, we want to ensure that Downer Avenue continues to have that high frequency service along Downer. So we're making that service year round. And then, as I mentioned, Waukesha Metro 1 will actually be extending their route from Brookfield Square into Milwaukee County, where we'll connect with our Connect BRT at 95th Street and also at the Milwaukee Regional Medical Center. And then we also took a look at some of our other routes that are currently on the avenue, including our Route 14. It will be modified into two separate routes, where Route 14 will travel on Humboldt Avenue between downtown and Bayshore, and we'll go into a little bit more details of the reasonings behind that in a few slides from here. And then our Route 24 will focus on Forest Home between Southridge, and we're actually extending it to MCTS Administration Building. And then finally, our blue line, we're adjusting it on the southern end to also connect better with the BRT, Route 12, and our Route 24, our new Route 24. So with that, we'll just kind of jump into a few of the specifics here on each route. So as I mentioned, Route 30 will be more frequent than it is today to really help serve a lot of the Gold Line riders that transition to the Route 30 starting June 4th. Buses will come about every 10 minutes compared to every 13, 14 like they do today. Our Route 30 will connect with will serve every Connect 1 BRT station along Wisconsin Avenue between Van Buren and 35th Street. But we also want to ensure that bus stops between those stations are also served. So we have 6 additional locations between those stops at major stops that have high ridership today to ensure that that underlying service is there for those that wish to stop more frequently. There won't be any change into the routing or the service band. It will continue to run from 4 a.m. to 1:30, like it does today. So as I mentioned, Route 21, we want to maintain that year-round service on Downer Avenue, knowing that Gold Line is retired. Now, Downer End will continue to have that high frequency service. Every 15 minutes, a bus will come to a stop. But this does mean that if you do wish to go down to downtown, you will have to transfer. However, Route 21 intersects a host of high frequency routes, including the Route 30, Green Line, 14, and Route 15 that all intersect Wisconsin Avenue. So with the Route 30 and the BRT on Wisconsin Avenue coming every 10 minutes between the two routes, if you make that transfer at a station, a bus will come on average every 5 minutes. So it's premium level service that our system has never seen. It's almost seamless, if you will, to not even look at a schedule, knowing that a bus is coming about every 5 minutes on average. That it just opens up the amount of connections for many riders that transfer from route to route today. And again, for those that have the ability to walk, there always is an option as well to walk to Maryland. Sorry, I can go back to Maryland, which is very close to Downer, if you prefer not to transfer. But that transfer option is there for, if you would like. Again, the buses will continue to run same service band, so there's no change to the timing there. Okay, so come to our next route here. It's the blue line. We're configuring the blue line on the southern end to make connections with the Connect 1 BRT stations, Route 12 and Route 24. So buses will no longer travel down 16th and 17th to Wisconsin. They will actually travel down 17th to Highland Avenue, Highland to 12th, and 12th to Wells, and Wells to the intermodal station. So it still ends with the same place it ends today. However, it will now go via Highland in order to connect with our 12 and BRT stations at 12th in Wisconsin and at 5th in Wisconsin. So a few different options for riders that wish to connect to the BRT. And then our Route 24 will connect with this blue line at Highland and at the administration building, which is at Fond du Lac and 17th Street. There's no change to the frequency of the service. It'll continue to be high frequency every 15 minutes. And the service span, again, there's no changes there. The buses will continue to run from 4:30 to about 1:30 in the morning. So with that, I will turn it over to Tom, who will talk a little bit more about some of the other route changes.
Thank you, Jesus. So for Route 14 is going to be split into 2 routes in order to improve the on-time performance on the 2 corridors, which will be existing on what is now the current 14 routing. The new Route 14 is going to serve the sort of north side of that, which is the Humboldt Boulevard routing, which goes from Bayshore down to downtown via Humboldt Boulevard. Route 24 is going to serve Forest Home Avenue down to Southridge. The frequency of service is going to be improved to 16 minutes compared to between like 22 and 30 minutes like it is today. We use direct feedback from riders and stakeholders in order to ease the transfers, and we made sure that we had some transfers in that routing. You can transfer to Connect One BRT as well at Jackson and Wisconsin, as well as to Route 30. And down on Wisconsin Avenue, buses are going to be coming every 5 minutes between the two routes. So if you're down on that eastern portion of Wisconsin Avenue, where it is the portion shared by Route 30 and the BRT, this is going to be our most frequent service. If you're just trying to get down that area shared by the two routes, it's going to be buses coming every 5 minutes. And for Route 14, the buses are going to continue to run from 4:30 a.m. to midnight like they are today. You can go to the next slide. So for Route 24, Route 24 is our new number, which is going to be replacing Route 14 on Forest Home and 16th Street. And then we're going to be extending that service on 16th and 17th to get to the MCTS administration building. This is a change that we made after getting some direct feedback from riders who said they wanted sort of that better connection to our administration building. A lot of people take the bus to our admin building, and so we are happy to provide that service. The frequency will be just like it is today, between 20 and 30 minutes. And riders can at 16th and Wisconsin connect to the Connect One BRT as well as to Route 30. And the buses will be coming, like I said, every 5 minutes between the two routes. And in terms of the service span, the buses will continue to run from 4:30 a.m. to midnight like they are today. And with that, I'll hand it back to Bill too. Oh, excuse me, there's Waukesha Metro 1. How could I forget? The service of Waukesha Metro 1 will be provided on Blue Mound Road to Brookfield Square and will continue to MRMC. They have extended our Metro Route 1 east to meet with our BRT. The riders can connect to Connect 1, Route 31, as well as our Route 92, which heads down 92nd Street. Riders will be able to access new employment opportunities in both Brookfield and Waukesha. And buses will run every 20 minutes on weekdays and Saturdays, with the Sunday service being every 35 minutes. And in terms of the service span, the buses will run from 5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. on weekdays and Saturdays, and from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And with that, I'll hand it back to Bill too.
All right, thank you so much. So for more information, you all can visit to learn more about MCTS Connect. Just visit our website at risemcts.com. There will also be service changes information on there as well. And with that being said, I will stop sharing my screen so that we can go into the Q&A segment of our presentation. I did see a couple of, let's see if I saw a couple of questions in here.
Bill, too, if I could just jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Just to give people kind of a perspective in terms of the outreach that we've done. It's been pretty extensive. Of course, you try to do your best, and you can never reach everybody, but there really has been, I would say, kind of a really extensive over the years effort to make sure that we get input from writers, from business owners, from universities, from, in this case, the Regional Medical Center. There have been neighborhood meetings in the Story Hill neighborhood, near West Side Partners, the Milwaukee Downtown Business Improvement District. We ourselves had 3 public outreach meetings, virtually, one in person, one virtual. There's been meetings with Independence First, with our own Transit Plus group that meets monthly. There's also been kind of shared outreach as a part of our WISCO new fare collection system effort that was tied into, in some ways, public outreach for BRT. And certainly, as Milwaukee County Transit, we've had to report to the Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors under their Transportation and Transit Committee. We've reported before the City of Milwaukee's Public Transportation, Utilities, and Waterway Committee, and have actually presented before the City of Wauwatosa Common Council. And then finally, just to, bus operators are themselves in terms of preparing them. So again, I make no promises that we talk to everybody in the community, but it has been pretty extensive. Just to kind of, again, provide some of that perspective. So I'll turn it back to you, Bill, too.
Thank you, Tom. Let me give me 1 second. I know we had a question from Felicia asking, would the Connect One announce when you approach 53rd and Wisconsin Avenue and Holly and Michigan Street as a stop for Vision Forward? Is a question.
I can answer that. Yeah, absolutely. The Connect One will have the same audio, destination signs that you see that you hear on our buses. So we definitely will incorporate that audio similar to the Gold Line today, where it calls out the bus stop, the transfers, major destinations such as Vision Forward, Independent First, a host of different organizations that we intentionally call out audibly on our buses, and we will do that with this Connect One bus rapid transit line.
Thank you, Jesus. Someone's also asking, will there be any plans for a Connect 2 bus route?
So I can address that. So actually, right now there is a what's called the North-South bus rapid transit study that's being done right now. That would be, in that case, we're looking at bus rapid transit along the 27th Street corridor, kind of basically paralleling the Purple Line today. This actually began as a study that was done by the Southeastern Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. They recommended bus rapid transit after looking at other potential modes like light rail and streetcar and such, but they recommended bus rapid transit. And now it's the next phase is called project development, which is a kind of a bureaucratic term under the Federal Transit Administration to move into that next phase. So that will go into a little more detail in terms of what, where stations would be located, what they should have, the kind of more details in terms of bus lanes and such. That will go through the rest of this year. There's still more asks, shall we say, before Milwaukee County in terms of the actual, bill, shall we say, in terms of moving that forward. But it is taking additional steps forward. So that conceivably would be called Connect 2 bus route.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom.
Sure.
Let's see, I'm just trying to go in order, but just give me 1 second. I know we have some people, let's see, maybe having a little bit of concern with connection on the east side and it taking a little bit longer. Do you have maybe a comment about that? Maybe services on the east side?
Sure. So, yeah, no, I think we've kind of heard some riders certainly express concern about the need to transfer to make that trip, in particular from Downer Avenue to get to downtown. I would say what we've tried to do is mitigate that as best as possible for the time being. And remember, bus routes always change. We change routes according to our contract with the bus drivers union, basically every change of the seasons. So we're going into summer now. This is a major change, clearly. We'll change schedules again in the fall, in the winter, and then again in spring.
Mhm.
So just to kind of reassure people that the changes that we're making, we feel like there is certainly logic and reason behind them. We understand that for some people, they may not look upon them as favorably as we do. But I think we're always open to making more adjustments. So going back to what I was saying earlier, one of the things we're doing to mitigate kind of that new transfer on the east side is to look at improving service on the Route 21, making a really substantial improvement in frequency on the Route 30. We are technically adding up to 4 buses into that schedule to get it from that 13 minutes to 10-minute frequency, which really is a large, fiscal investment in that route to get that frequency down to that level. We know it's needed, but I think it is a substantial investment. Like I say, and I think Tom mentioned this point a few times, once you do get to the Wisconsin Avenue, those 30s and the Connect schedules, there basically is going to be a bus coming on average every 5 minutes, which really, that doesn't exist today. So really, you really don't even need a schedule once you get to the avenue, because before you know it, there will be a bus, whether it's a BRT bus or about 30 bus coming. And that's really something that we're really excited about just because of it. It doesn't exist today.
Yeah.
And there's also a kind of an element of kind of cleaning, making the service simpler to understand on Wisconsin Avenue. Right now, you've got a multitude of different routes, the blue and the 14, and you used to have flyer routes. Now the Wisconsin Avenue is primarily just BRT, Connect 1, and Route 30. And I think having that element of simplicity will make it easier for not only current riders, but maybe for people that don't ride the bus to understand how simple it is to use transit.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. And then I'm just going in order from the top to the bottom, just in case. But next question somebody asked will there be a bus stop on 68th and Blue Mound if you want to take Connect 1 West?
68th and Blue Mound?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is service on Blue Mound. I believe on 67th Street we have a station, so maybe not right at 68th Street, but just a short block over. There'll be stations on each side, and yeah, it'll continue west on Blue Mound to 95th Street, where if you've I saw another question about service out to Waukesha. Again, the BRT stopping at 95th Street and the Metro one kind of coming into our county really opens up the opportunity for not just our Connect 1 riders, but a host of our different routes that riders from other different routes that can just go further west than they can today. Today, you have to hop on the goal line and connect at Brookfield Square. Now, starting June 4th, a lot of our riders can connect right here in Milwaukee County and go all the way to the city of Waukesha, if they like, by transferring to the Metro at a few different transfer points. So we're really excited about that portion of this as well. Yes, there will be a station at 67th Street. I think Tom might have mentioned it, but these stations are also located anywhere there's a north-south route that intersects the Connect 1. Our station will be at or very close, like in this case, 67th Street. So again, the buses come in every 10 minutes. A lot of riders do transfer today across our system. This will make it more frequent, and we really intentionally looked at those corridors like Route 14, Route 30 that have high ridership, and making those more frequent so that you hop on one bus and the bus is already there. And with BRT, you walk on, right? Your transfer should carry it over, you validate, you just walk on. So it's one of those things that overall your trip time, even though you do have to transfer, in some cases, your trip time is actually shorter because these buses are coming so frequently. There's bus only lanes that, you get past traffic. I know there was another question that mentioned the congestion, along with these bus only lanes. That was part of the study, those traffic analyses that our consultants did to ensure that we could put lanes where they are. So that was all taken into account from like 2016 to implementing all those analyses that went into account. So yeah, I know I kind of just answered a bunch of them, but I hope that that sheds some light on some of those questions.
Yep, thank you for that, Jesus. So we did have a question from someone asking how paying fare will work. They said, I know it will be at the station before onboarding, but what will that process specifically look like? And I can help answer that question. So when it comes to paying for your fare, if you have the Wisco app or the Wisco card, you're essentially just scanning your card or your app onto the validator before you hop on the bus as soon as you see it. And that is, as soon as you do that, that is when your 90-minute transfer will begin. And then if you're paying cash, you will pay for that on a ticket vending machine. And then it will spit out like a paper paper ticket to you, essentially. That will be your transfer. And then just to note, you will have to give the exact amount because it won't give you change, from my understanding. I think another person was asking that same question as well. They were asking, will I need to get a ticket at a Connect One station if Wisco is used as opposed to cash? So yeah, so it'll be the same price essentially. It's the same price as what you would, pay for a regular route bus. But everything is just done outside of the bus rather than on the bus to be able to provide that fast service for BRTs. And then just to note, our BRT routes also will be free to ride starting June 4th up until the end of September, for folks to be able to get a feel for that route as well. And then another question that someone asked, Charles asked, did you mention that the Connect will replace the Gold Line?
Yeah, I can kind of answer that. So it will replace portions of the Gold Line. It will replace Wisconsin Avenue from about Cass to Hawley, and then it will travel on Hawley to Blue Mound to 95th. So it's not a replacement for the Gold Line in its entirety. It's the meat and potatoes of the route, the corridor of Wisconsin Avenue that in our system, it's kind of the backbone. It replaces that portion, and we were intentional to ensure that the portions that it did not replace, we mitigated as best possible. And to Tom's point, we make changes 4 times a year, including feedback that we're getting now, right? We'll continue to monitor our service, and we think that, we have logical sense of ensuring that Route 30 is more frequent and making sure that Route 21 is on downer and that Route 14 is coming more frequently, to ensure that for those that do now have to transfer, that their transfer weight is at least possible. Every route that is a north-south route on the east side that intersects with the Connect One is a high-frequency route ranging from every 10 minutes to about every about 14, actually. No, 16 with the 14, but very frequent service on the east sides. But we were really intentional about that. So yeah.
Thank you. So it looks like we just have a comment/question from someone just suggesting to please look at Route 30, not turning on Ogden, but heading straight to Wisconsin Avenue. And then we had another question, how far down will it go on Blue Mound?
Like 95th Street. It will go west to 95th Street, then it'll go head up 95th Street to Wisconsin through the Medical Regional Center via 92nd Street, and then it'll end at Watertown Plank Park and Ride, where we have a electric charger for the battery electric buses to charge during their layover time.
And then someone asked, what is the fare for BRT? So the fare for BRT is the same as any other regular route. So it is $1 for reduced fare rider and $2 for regular fare rider. And you will also be benefiting from fare capping as well. And with each ticket purchase, you receive a 90-minute transfer. So for the BRT specifically, it will give you a paper copy from the TVM machines. Let's see, if you're paying with cash specifically, but if you're paying with your Wisco card or the Wisco app, it will automatically go onto your card or your app. So it'll be on there whenever you scan it for the next ride. And then someone asked, Jackie asks, I meant to say a bus stop on Route 76 lines on Blue Mound instead of walking a block on Wisconsin Avenue to a stop service Route 76, question mark.
I think we're not exactly sure what the person is asking, Bill, to. Could you?
Okay. Yeah, I'll go back to that. I'll go see, or
Okay.
I guess, yeah, I'll go back to that in a second.
Okay.
So another person is asking, what measures are you putting in place for the congestion this will cause on Wisconsin Avenue, not just vehicle, but pedestrian congestion? They're just stating that they worry that there will be a lot of people queuing for the bus in winter weather, and looking at the current plans, there's reasons to fear it won't be as seamless as advertised, and that they notice there's no dedicated bus lanes in key and busy parts of downtown, which is going to cause backup, um, is their question.
Well, I think it's safe to say we're all going to learn a lot, given this is a brand new, service that hasn't existed in the state. Um, and it kind of going back on what we were saying earlier, we make schedule adjustments, 4 times a year, regularly with the change of the seasons. So I think this summer in particular, it's going to be very, very interesting, right? And a lot of levels, we're very excited for what BRT is going to provide. But we're going to learn things like, did we have the right amount of running time in the schedule between in the downtown or on the west side? Do we need to look at, making the layovers at the end of the line longer or shorter, depending on how much time the batteries in the battery electric buses need to charge? So, and we'll make adjustments like we normally do. As I say, every schedule change, we do that. Um, I think, we'll also need to do a lot of our due diligence to work with, in this case, the city of Milwaukee. I think there was a question regarding like expanding bus only lanes. Of course, in this, in the case of whether it's the city of Milwaukee or the city of Wauwatosa, you know, they have the, authority, right, to uh, make that street have a bus only lane. And they were, very good about, in the case of the city, um, to give us those bus lanes where they are located. But that can be a political process, right? That they need to work through with, in this case, the downtown businesses or other landowners that are adjacent to it. So this is going to be kind of an iterative process, I think, as we learn more, as we introduce it, and then we'll learn our lessons, shall we say, and then make adjustments, kind of going forward.
Yeah, and I would just add to, I mean, like I mentioned, the road traffic analyses for
Oh, right.
automobiles to ensure that one lane is sufficient. Um, in terms of bus congestion, today Wisconsin Avenue, um, our buses get stuck a lot during peak times, and what these bus lanes will allow our buses to do is to kind of get past that congestion. And I know Tom mentioned earlier about Route 14 and Route 24. Route 14 today is one of our longest routes end to end. It's on 3 different corridors, and its schedule adherence isn't the best, just because of that congestion in Wisconsin. So that was another big reason behind that, splitting those 2 routes, to have both of those routes really focus on their corridors, which there are different land use density. And we really feel that these changes, by having the BRT and the 30 really provide that premium service, those corridors will become more timely for riders, right? What happens on one end, for instance, on Forest Home, there's perhaps congestion, traffic, construction, can impact someone on Humble waiting for that bus, right? But by just removing that, those buses can be more on time, and the BRT can utilize those, and 30 can utilize those bus only lanes to really get people going east and west, that though you may have to transfer it, your overall trip again will minimize because of those other external factors that are no longer there.
Awesome, thank you. So the next question, Mary's asking, what about the corridor that serves the Milwaukee Art Museum and Northwestern?
I can take that one too. Yeah, Route 14 will continue to serve that. We're actually the end point for Route 14 will be right outside of Northwestern Mutual. It'll sit there for about 10 minutes during its layover. So again, that amount of time with the BRTs coming and 30s coming every 5 minutes, will make for those connections, right? The amount of time that 14 will sit there, it'll continue to serve that corridor. So it's still served. And I mean, to one of the points earlier about why not have 30 on Wisconsin and Cass, that's something we can look into. Maybe that is something that makes sense right now. We know that there's a lot of grocery shopping and rides that are occurring on Ogden, but again, we make changes 4 times a year, so maybe that's something that we can look into, and that's very valuable feedback.
Yeah, and just to jump in on that point, I mean, that is something we can look into. I mean, that we know obviously the Hop streetcar is on Ogden Avenue, it's on Jackson. But the challenge, maybe the Hop should cover that service instead of Route 30. That's kind of a interesting thought. But I think, to do our due diligence is we'd want to, make sure that we would do outreach to people along those segments to see, what would their impact be. So this is sort of the challenging thing and the fun thing about being, in transit planning is to sort of try to see as much of these, what impacts could occur when you look at major adjustments. But again, yeah, I hope we kind of reassured everybody that we do make adjustments all the time. We do extensive amounts of outreach, and whether it's riders, whether it's bus drivers, I think what's incumbent upon us to make sure that people understand kind of that logic and reasoning into it, to try to serve as many people as possible, given within our budget limits. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. So next question I have is, I don't remember if I asked this already, but someone's asking, from what I understand, Route 24 will not travel on Wisconsin Ave, but one would have to transfer on 16th in Wisconsin. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
We'll have a northbound stop at 16th Wisconsin. The BRT stations are right there at 16th Wisconsin, and then we'll have a stop on 17th of Wisconsin due to the nature of the one-way streets. But yes, one can transfer to the 30 or the bus rapid
BRT.
transit coming every 5 minutes. So no.
Awesome. And then another question. One second. Will the Connect One stop at the Milwaukee County Zoo?
Yeah, technically it will not have that stop in front of the zoo like the Gold Line used to. That was kind of the decision, in given the importance of serving Milwaukee Regional Medical Center, thousands and thousands of jobs at the MRMC, and it continues to grow. Right, they're actually making further expansion west of 95th Street. So that the way to get to the zoo will then involve a transfer from the BRT to the Route 1 Metro link, or Route 1 Metro. We actually we've had some outreach to the county zoo and actually to San Camillus, who's on that facility on the other side of Bluemont Road, to kind of, give them kind of the reasoning and then how that transfer is going to work. If a person can, walk from 95th to the zoo, that's possible, of course, but there will be a way to make that transfer connection.
There are stations at 95th Street, and Metro 1 will have bus stops next to our station. So for those that choose can't walk or don't have the ability to, the transfer's there. But perhaps if you're able-bodied, perhaps like that short walk is sufficient if you do not want to transfer.
We have one person asking, what is expected for drivers that don't respect the bus only lane? Is it separate or just painted? Is that time accounted for in these estimates you guys have?
Well, we certainly accommodated the fact that there's a bus lane in terms of the running time in the schedule, the fact that the bus can, have that advantage, so that we can shrink that time to a degree. In terms of enforcement, I'm perhaps not we're not the best people to answer those questions, but I mean, from what I'm aware, certainly it's people can use the bus lane when they're making a right turn or they're parking. But if it is something that would be enforced by, in this case, MPD, Milwaukee Police, if a person is just sort of blatantly, using it for, very long stretches. So,
And I would add to that, today we travel in those right lanes in congestion. Yeah, there will be, bad apples, if you will, that don't adhere to the lanes from time to time. However, the beauty of our buses is we can go around them if it's like, for instance, like a UPS truck or something that has to pull over. But to Tom's point, yeah, with Wauwatosa and City of Milwaukee, police departments and the ordinances that they have, bicycles can use our lanes. And again, our bus operators are trained in different situations that they can merge in and out. But overall, it'll be a giant improvement because especially during those peak times when congestion is heavy, today where it's just sitting behind traffic, these lanes allow us to bypass, and there will be a learning curve, obviously, but we're hopeful that with the ordinances and our training, we can the lanes will do what they're supposed to do, which is get our buses through the corridor very, very fast.
And just to follow up, do you know if there would be any opportunities to expand the bus-only lanes in the future? Someone's asking. If someone's asking specifically if they would love if it went all the way to Prospect is their comment.
yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it kind of goes back to the street is technically owned by the city, in this case, City of Milwaukee. So there would have to kind of be, some, negotiations, shall we say, or just discussions with the city regarding if that would be possible. I think, again, given this is brand new, bus lanes are new, BRT is new, off-board boarding is new. We're just going to learn so much about how this works and in terms of the adjustment. I'm glad we're doing it during the summer when the weather is nice and warm. But I think we'll learn too in terms of that congestion through downtown where there aren't bus lanes. Like maybe that's something that could work. But again, I think that's ultimately something that it really is the decision point for the city, for the DPW folks, and certainly the Alderman Bauman in this case. So I guess kind of we'll see is sort of the answer.
All right, thank you. Someone's asking, how do you get a Wisco card to replace the M card? Is it only an app? And to answer that, it is not only an app. You can get a Wisco card as well. And if you qualify to be a reduced fare rider, you can reach out to our customer service department and we can help you get set up to be a reduced fare rider. You can pick up a free Wisco card up until the end of June at either of the KK or the FDL station or the admin building off of 17th Street. But if you have any specific questions about that, let me know and I can help you get a Wisco card. And then we have someone asking, is there a specific time of day that service is starting on June 4th?
There is. If I had the timetable ahead, I would share it with you. I think it actually is online on the Connect page right now. I don't have the exact time, but I want to say it's about 4:30 in the morning. I know some people have talked about being on the first bus leaving the station. If you want to get up that early, you can do so. But I believe the full schedule is available online on the rideMCTS.com website under the Connect page.
All right, and then I had a question from Jackie, who is saying right now there are bus stops on Route 76 going north and south on 68th in Wisconsin. If Connect One stops at 67th and Blue Mound, Will riders have to walk to 68th and Wisconsin to transfer to Route 76, or will there be a bus stop for Route 76 on 68th and Blue Mound? I'm just getting and hoping to get a little bit of clarification on that.
Looks like Jesus and Tom are
Yeah, one second. I just want
taking a
to,
peek.
yeah, I just want to double check because I think that did come up from someone else. And before I speak, I just want to make sure my ducks are in a row here. So yes. So there are stops at Blue Mountain 68th and northbound and southbound. The BRT stations would be about 150, 200 feet to the east. So that is within what we call relatively walking distance or industry standards about the average person's, you know, uh, willing to walk about a quarter mile. Obviously, that's an able-bodied person. However, there will be stops very close by to that to make that transfer connection. But I guess to answer that question correctly, will there be walk to 60th and no 60th and Blue Mound? There'll be the station 67th and Blue Mound. So there we have northbound and southbound stops for Route 76 at 76 and Blue Mound, and then the Connect One bus rapid transit stations are at Blue Mound and 67th Street. So they're just adjacent on Blue Mound there. So it should be a very close to the existing stops for those that want to transfer west or east on the Connect One bus rapid transit. We do have stops at 68th in Wisconsin as well, but if they want to connect to the Connect One, they would do it at Blue Mound, not at Wisconsin.
Specifically, I'll just mention for the BRT, the eastbound stop is going to be at 67th and Blue Mound, and the westbound stop is going to be at 70th and Blue Mound. So it'll be like a block either side of 68th Street, just to give you a specific idea.
Awesome. So the next question that we had is Elizabeth is asking, do you have a video that shows wheelchair users how to lock themselves down on the BRT? And there are, from my understanding, videos on how to do that. And then there's also some open houses that are being hosted this week, and I believe one next week. I can double check, but it's on our community calendar. Just an open house for you for folks to be able to learn more about the accessibility capabilities of the BRT bus and platform. Just an on-hand session. So there are about 3 available, and I can post the links up on here as well before the end of the presentation. And then we have someone else asking, it is a bit of a long comment, but it's please consider making Wisconsin Avenue have a bus-only lane and extending that lane to turn around square near the art museum. If there's a stretch in the busiest part of Wisconsin Avenue that isn't bus only, it's going to cause snarls during rush hour. Means people standing outside. Okay in summer, not okay in winter. If you can get the city to get rid of on-street parking in this stretch too, that would be greatly decrease the chance of snarls that stick people outside. I'm worried not just about people standing outside, but also queues spilling into the sidewalk and people getting hit. So there's one comment from someone. And another person is asking, can some of the stops on the 30 be eliminated? Why should it stop at Kenilworth when there's a stop on North? The Gold was speedier than 30.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, and I mean, that is something that we can take a look at. On Wisconsin Avenue, we looked at stops that are very close that aren't served, and then we definitely want to keep the ones that are very heavily used. But yeah, that's definitely something that we can look into for sure on Prospect to perhaps make that ride it faster for those that will now transition to the Route 30. So yeah, thank you for that.
And then we just had a comment from someone about the hop and getting stuck behind cars. And they're just hoping that the hop doesn't replace Route 30. And then we have a person asking, how does taking a bicycle on the BRT work?
It works as similar as any other bus. We'll have the racks in front, and if those both of the racks are filled with bikes, you can bring a bike on board as well, similar to our buses today. So nothing changes for the Connect buses.
All right, next question. Someone's asking, I came late, apologies if this was asked and answered. Will the BRT stops be separate from regular buses, or will all buses board at the BRT stops along the way?
That's a great question. So on Wisconsin Avenue, the Connect one will serve all the BRT stations. The Route 30 will serve all the BRT stations. The Route 30 will have some regular stops in between the BRT stations. And then in other cases, like on 92nd Street, our Route 92 will serve the BRT stations. On Hawley Road, our Route 60 will serve the BRT stations. So our MCTS routes will, now that Metro 1 will not, however, we've worked well with Waukesha Metro to ensure that their bus stops are right next to our BRT station. So if you're looking to transfer to the Waukesha Metro 1, there will be a bus stop directly next to our BRT stations for that ease of just transferring.
And then someone's asking about transfers. Transfer with each purchase comes a 90-minute transfer. And then Jackie is asking right now, Route 76 transfers to Gold. If Gold is going to be retired and Connect goes east on Blue Mound, then will Route 76 have a bus stop on Blue Mound and 76th Street as of June 4th?
Yes, 76th Street and Blue Mound will be served. Oh, no, not by 76. Apologies. Connect 1 will have bus stations at 76th Street, but Route 76 is actually on 68th Street in that stretch. It's a kind of a little part of 76th Street where it's not on 76th Street, but we do have Connect 1 stations at 76th Street and Blue Mound. If someone lives around that area and wants to travel east or west on the Connect 1 BRT.
Another question we had, how do visitors who want to use MCTS get a Wisco card? Also, can you use it for reduced fare? To enter that, if it's a visitor who's just taking one ride, we do have the opportunity for folks to use cash. So they're more than welcome to use cash if they're just going to ride the bus once or twice. But if they're visiting for a week, they might ride it even more. They can download, the UMO app and get Wisco and use it that way. It makes it a little bit easier. But if they actually want a card and they're going to use it even more, they can get it from our, like I said, our admin building, the KK Fond du Lac, or some of our retail locations, which is up on our website. So there's a difference between our retail and resale locations. So some locations sell cards and you can load money, and some locations you can only just load money. So just be careful to go to locations where you can purchase them. But I mean, they're more than welcome to purchase a Wisco card, and they will be after June, $2 to purchase a Wisco card. Let's see. I know we have a lot more comments right now. Let's see if we have any more questions. Do we have any other questions from guests at all? Kathleen, to answer your question, if it's a guest and they're not a reduced fare rider, like if they're not from here, and they want to get the rate, they won't. They would like in order to get the senior rate, you would have to register to become a reduced fare rider, and there are a couple of qualifications in order to be a reduced fare rider. Um, I can put in the chat the link with more information on how they could be a reduced fare rider um, before the end of this presentation. Another question from someone is, I plan to take the BRT starting June 5th. I assume it's as simple as just showing up and getting on. I don't want any surprises, so is there anything else I need to know?
I would say, if you're an avid rider today and use your card at the validators today, I'm not sure if, you've seen those validators on the buses to the left. The stations will have that validator. So instead of doing it on the bus, once you get to the station, you validate your card. If you have a Wisco card or an app and already tapped and you have your 90-minute transfer, then you would just tap on the validator and it would tell you like you're good to go. Bus comes to the station, you walk right on, and then it works similarly to like any other route. You'll have the same announcements, and you'll um, just it works the same way as any other bus. It's just that you do everything offline. And then one thing I do want to mention about the stations, I don't think we covered, is that all these amenities, are ADA accessible, including they have audio for those that may be visually impaired. The ticket vending machines can guide you in English and Spanish to purchase a ticket. The real-time signs that let you know when a bus is coming, also have audible features. So, you can push a button, it'll tell you every route that's coming, what time, the date, etc. that these stations have. So while you're waiting for your bus, you can literally in real time know when the bus is coming.
And just maybe as a quick surprise, like we said, the BRT will be free this summer.
Yeah.
So all that information Jesus provided you will still be valid, except
Yeah.
right now you'll just be able to walk on the bus for free on the BRT. But and just as a quick notice, or quick, I guess something we really haven't mentioned either. If you are boarding one of the battery electric buses, these vehicles are very quiet. If some of you that use or ridden or own electric cars, you know how quiet they are. And, in a typical diesel bus, you get that sort of rumbling sound, right? Like I just can speak personally when, I've been inside one of these battery electric buses. It's amazingly how quiet these vehicles are. So that might be a surprise for some people, but no, it's really, it's just elevating transit service, in our community in a way that really has never existed. I mean, in some ways, I kind of mentioned at the beginning, I've been with the company for over 30 years. This really is that kind of a big change in transit service. And it really is kind of even if you will, a historic moment in terms of how we provide transit to the community. And we're really excited about it. Give it a try. It's gonna be an improvement. We understand that, for some people, some of these adjustments in the routes might add a transfer. We are a transfer-based system, but I understand that's an adjustment. We want to hear those comments. As I say, at the end, we do make adjustments to routes 4 times a year. And a lot of those adjustments are based on riders' feedback. So please let us, hear your feedback. We analyze it. We look at it from a planning perspective, from a fiscal perspective. And then we just, ultimately, try to move the system forward as best we can, given our kind of fiscal limitations.
Right. right, do we have any other specific questions at all? Feel free to utilize the chat. I know we have a few more minutes until the end of our PowerPoint. I know someone was asking about transfers, if they can transfer funds from M-Card to the Wisco card. Yes, you can do that. You can just reach out to our customer service department, who can help you do that. I posted the number in the chat. One thing we are suggesting is that people use the funds in their M card first and then switch over to the Wisco, because we have been getting a high volume of calls with folks wanting to just transfer, but you can just utilize, because you have until September to be able to use your M card funds. So we just encourage people to use that first, and then after you're done, load the money into your Wisco card and then start using that after. And then we have a question. Can you give insight about what you did to decide how to execute this? I am sure you modeled after other cities who have done something similar and consulted experts. I'm curious about the process.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to that. This really has been kind of a long process. But, you know, I think I have, and I think Jesus and others, we've looked at how bus rapid transit is used in other cities. I've been in Cleveland, Ohio. They have what they call the Health Line. It's a BRT line. Our project manager, David Loker, been to Grand Rapids, Michigan. They have their own kind of BRT line. And certainly, we've had many meetings with the Federal Transit Administration. They've kind of kept a close eye on ourselves and others that apply for funding to get the system up and running. But at the end of the day, it's basically we're using federal dollars and funds to build stations, to buy battery electric buses, to make improvements, like I say, in terms of getting bus lanes. One thing I don't know if we mentioned, probably could have or should have, these buses will be using or taking advantage of what's called transit signal priority. So the buses that'll be another feature to help a bus, extend the green light for the buses to have it go faster as well. So it's really, I want to say the process technically began as long ago as 2017. Things kind of got delayed, certainly because of COVID. Then you've had, of course, that supply chain issues, which are still there to a degree, not as much as they used to be. But we would all kind of wish we would have been talking about this maybe last year. But it is, we are right again on the precipice of starting it off. So I hope that answers your question regarding the process, but a lot of collaboration with the Federal Transit Administration, a lot of public outreach with major stakeholders, businesses, institutions, riders, to try to produce this product. So.
All right, thank you for that, Tom. We have a question at the end. Will the Wisco app and card be eventually linked together so we could have an option to use one or the other? Was a question. And to answer that, I would have to get back to you on that, but you are more than welcome to switch from using the Wisco app and the card. The only, like, just in case, one day you accidentally leave your card at home and you have your phone with you, you have the app downloaded and you're like, okay, let me just add some funds on here so I can ride the bus because I forgot my card. You're more than welcome to do that. The only issue is you won't benefit from fare capping as fast as you would as if you stuck to using one system, like one card. That's the only downfall with that. You'll still get the transfers and fare capping, but it would only go for the amount of times that you used for the card versus the app itself. So that's the only thing. In the future, we're going to be working on a lot of different things and upgrading a lot of the system. But as for now, it is just one account per person. And then I know one person wanted to know about um, the open house session. So the MCTS Bus Rapid Transit Accessibility is featuring open house. We had one today from it's going on right now up until noon. The next one is going to be Thursday, May 25th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And all sessions will be taking place at the MCTS admin building, so located at 1942 North 17th Street. The open house will include presentations of accessibility features every 30 minutes, tours of the Connect battery electric bus, demonstrations of platform, ticket vending machines, and then opportunity to see and try the quantum mobility device self-securement system. So if you're interested in registering for that last one on Thursday, just uh, call the number 414-343-1714, or you can email tpwisgo@mcts.org and just include your name and number of people attending. But yeah, we have about 10 more minutes left in the meeting. We'll be here just answering any last minute questions. Until then, we just want to be able to respect people's time. So feel free to just to chime in with any questions in the meantime. Bryn, thank you for that comment about advertising the MCTS Rider Insider. I know we have someone who specifically works on that. I will make sure to connect with them and just make sure we're doing as much advertising to make sure people know that they can subscribe to that and get information about what is coming. But I know that is something that's on a monthly basis. But if you're not subscribed now and you would like to be, feel free to leave your email. And I can take that and make sure they have it to make sure you're subscribed. Jesus, Thomas, did any of you guys have any like last minute comments or information before we end? Okay, wait, I think I see someone asking about another question. Someone's saying, could you please clarify the zoo situation?
Yeah, so yeah, we can certainly do that. Yeah, the BRT will not be like maintaining that gold line stop that's right in front of the zoo. The Route 1 Metro, which is being extended from Brookfield Square where it ends to the Regional Medical Center, will stop right in front of the zoo. So if you're coming from Milwaukee, you'll be able to take the Connect One BRT to 95th and Blue Mound, and then there will be a station. There are stations there, and then there will also be a Route 1 bus stop, like literally right behind it or right next to it. So you can then transfer from the BRT to Rochester Metro Route 1, and then complete that trip to get to the zoo. They themselves are in the process of joining the Wisco system themselves. I think that's something that is maybe Bill, so you could speak to that a bit if you have more details, but that is something that'll probably, ideally simplify those connections, those transfers between the two. But But the trip, you'll still be able to make that trip to get to the zoo. It will involve that transfer, or if you choose, or if you can, it'll be that walk from 95th and Bluemont to the zoo.
I would just say, I guess to finish up here, I guess, thank you for taking some time. We hope to see you on the bus rapid transit and some of our other route changes. Thank you for attending, and we look forward to seeing you all in future meetings. Your feedback is very valuable. It helps guide future service changes. And again, feel free to reach out anytime, right? Not just when we host these public meetings. We definitely take everyone's feedback and put it into our service changes to meet as many people as we can, operators, stakeholders, yourselves as riders. So your feedback is very valuable. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, just to reiterate that, thank you, Jesus. That's exactly, I couldn't have put it better. Your feedback does matter. It does go into these adjustments that we make. But yeah, we're just ultimately, as I was kind of saying, like this really is kind of a major moment, I would say, in the history of Milwaukee County Transit. This having this first bus rapid transit line for us in the state of Wisconsin. And it's going to be, an adjustment, but I think it's just something that really is going to elevate transit in our community in a way that, certainly will be an enhancement for many thousands of riders over time. And hopefully will attract people that, maybe wouldn't consider using regular fixed route bus service, but will see the advantages of just having a simple system where you can buy your fare before you get on the bus, the vehicle, walk right on, get off in a very fast, reliable way. And we're just excited to get that going. And thank you again for participating, for joining the meeting. And yeah, feel free to let us, know your comments and thoughts.
All right, with that being said, I will go ahead and end the presentation. Like Tom and Jesus said, feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any other lingering questions or comments. Your feedback is always encouraged. With that being said, thank you all and have a nice rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.